Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Don from 1A Auto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And the next time you need a part for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to show you how to replace the outer tie rod on this 2006 Chevy Impala. It's similar for 2000 through 2009, as well as from the left side and the right side. Also, keep in mind that anytime you're replacing suspension and steering components, we always recommend that you get an alignment afterward. In order to perform this repair, you'll need a jack and jack stands, 7, 18, and 19 millimeter socket and socket wrench, needle nose pliers, 13 millimeter wrench, a 7/8 or a 22 millimeter wrench, and a tape measure. By hand, loosen the plastic lug nut covers until they release from the lug nuts themselves. Go ahead and pull off your hubcap. You're going to use the same size 19 millimeter socket to remove the lug nuts once you get that cover off. If you don't have the benefit of using a lift or air tools, what you'll want to do is remove or loosen up the 5 lug nuts just slightly with a socket wrench and breaker bar. And then once you've got it jacked up and on the jack stands, you can proceed to remove them completely with your socket wrench. Your outer tie rod end is going to be attached to your spindle on the back side, and you'll see it there. And I'm going to start by using a pair of needle nose pliers to remove the cotter pin that goes through the end of the ball joint. I'm using an 18 millimeter socket and socket wrench to remove the nut on the bottom of the outer tie rod. I'm measuring the distance from a fixed point at the boot of the inner tie rod with the center of the outer tie rod.
This will give us a good starting point for when we install the new one. We can set it up to the same measurement, and that'll give us a good preliminary alignment.
The nut on the inner tie rod and that sits against the outer tie rod is 7/8 or 22 millimeters. Go ahead and loosen that up. I'm going to just slightly install that nut again and give it a couple whacks to get it to pop out of the spindle. And now I'm removing the outer tie rod.
Here you can see the new tie rod on the left from 1A Auto and the old tie rod. It's going to be an exact match and installed just like the original.
Install your grease fitting and tighten it down with a 7 millimeter socket and socket wrench. Install the outer tie rod to the point of where the nut is on the inner tie rod, and then put it into its position on the spindle. Install the new nut that came with the outer tie rod.
Measure the distance again from the boot to the center of the tie rod. Make sure it matches. Adjust it if you need to. Okay, and then we can tighten up that nut.
I'm going to install the new cotter pin. Put it through the threaded portion and the crown nut that you just tightened, and then peel the ears back so that it won't come loose. Use your 7/8 or 22 to hold the nut, and then a 13 millimeter wrench to hold the inner tie rod, and go ahead and tighten those down. Use a grease gun, attach it to the fitting on the outer tie rod, and squeeze until you're sure that it's full. Reinstall the wheel and start by hand tightening the lug nuts. Some pressure back on the ground, torque your 5 lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds, and then by hand tighten up the plastic lug nut covers and making sure that you're lining up the hole in your hubcap with the valve stem, and I'll go ahead and fast forward as I do that.
We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.